Good evening and welcome to another live GamingAlimonda broadcast of the PSGL F1 tier, and we're here for round 7 of season 19 from Baku for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So tonight I finally have a partner once again, given how long Louis has been revising for. So I'm very pleased to be joined in the commentary booth tonight by none other than the regular F3 commentator himself, JP Greenwood. Welcome to the box, my friend.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ben, for that introduction. Glad to be here tonight. I'm excited for this one. As you know, regular viewer of the F1 streams. So yeah, it just gives me another added, what's what I'm looking for really, aspect to the F1 race.
Absolutely. So we're here around the Baku city circuit, which is a very unusual street circuit, because most street circuits you tend to want to go for a high downforce setup, but this one is more akin to Monza than Monaco, because you need to have enough downforce to get around the first two sectors while balancing that you need some speed for one of the longest straights in the sports, where we will see the majority of the overtakes in today's race. So Greenwood, what is your sort of opinion on this track? Is it one you enjoy, or is it more of a struggle?
No, relatively speaking, for my own sort of standard, I'm actually pretty quick round here, so I'm quite enjoying it at the minute. I mean, it's another street style circuit, so any mistakes is going to cost you some carbon fibre and perhaps even worse. The one thing I would say, the big difference between last season's track, well, the track on the last game compared to this one, is the curbs are slightly higher, so if you attack those curbs, at best you're going to lose some time. At worst, you could do what happened to me on FP last Tuesday and spin you around into a wall. So that's something to be look out for. I will say it's not a particularly difficult track to drive around. There's only two corners that I can think of that are particularly difficult. Turn 3 maybe, and the corner that goes down the hill. Sorry, I'm rubbish with corner numbers. The one before the final sector, there are only two real corners that you should have any trouble with.
Yeah, so that's all very good points. So we're just going to have a quick look at the driver standings, but first of all, just some news on the drivers tonight. Nick Pine is absent, and because of his shenanigans in Canada last week, Lordy Boy begins the first of his 4-race ban, so he will not be returning until, by my calculations, the Italian Grand Prix, but I may be incorrect on that. So countdown underway, and we're going to get loaded for the usual 12-minute qualifying, followed by a 50% race, which for the first time in some time is not 30 laps or more, so but it's one of the longest laps on the calendar. So in terms of the championship standings, Cliffy had another great result last week, arguably the most informed driver in the whole of PSGL. He made it his 4th podium in a row. 3 of those have been victories, including Canada last week, the same race he won in his debut race last season. So he's currently on 74 points with a massive 31 point advantage to 43, which will be magnified by the fact that Big C after this race will be missing the next 2 Grand Prix due to outside commitments. So beyond Big C we have xJackLacey on 34 points, AMS on 34 points, who's been getting solid scores in the top 10, and Ashbest has moved up to 33 points. And the reigning champion Jamie is currently in 6th place. Now in terms of the Constructors' Championship, we have Mercedes, who pulled away from Ferrari, who didn't have the best of Canadian Grand Prix, so 94 to 73 points respectively between Mercedes and Ferrari. Force India on 47, and the team who made real big moves last week were the duo of Little Blocks and Lewis W08, who got a brilliant double podium in Canada last week to move up to 44 points and 4th in the standings, while Red Bull are in 5th place. So qualifying here around this circuit, in terms of the time, we could see more of a spread out field than we saw in Canada last week, but I think some of the usual suspects such as Cliffy, Big C, xJackLacey, who is incidentally a former race winner, at this track. It's only the third time in PSGL history it's been hosted in F1 tier, but obviously it's a very new track, so no surprise there. So, JP, in terms of the qualifying session, who do you think is going to be strong out there tonight?
Well, it's got to be the usual suspects, really. I mean, you can't really. It's hard to look beyond Cliffy. Ash Best, he's another one to look out for, as is Big C. But I'll tell you who's impressed me most this season, actually, is Nickel Blocks. Always knew we had the pace from F2 last season, but the only thing that came into question was his racecraft. But apart from that, he's won that quality pace, and some of his so far this season has been pretty special.
Yeah, Ferrari will definitely be trying to hit back after their poor race at Canada last week. Big C suffering the ignominy of crashing into the wall of champions. So not a great moment for the 7-time PSGL F1 champions, who'll be looking to hit back here. And it looks like Ferrari's among the first out on track.
The one thing I would say on this track that is going to be very, very little threat of any range in the race. But this is Codemaster, so anything can happen, but I wouldn't suspect there'd be any range in the race. Yeah,
according to Ash Best and also someone in the F1 chat, it's going to be dry throughout, so we shouldn't expect any rain today, but as JP correctly points out, you never know with this game.
No. So I think Ash Best is the first one who's going to set a lap.
Yep, going through the kink, heading up to the line. After the kink, this is actually as long a straight as the back straight in China, but including the kink, it's the longest straight in Formula 1. So Ash Best goes into turn 1, lots of right angle sort of corners straight away. I'm not a big fan of Sector 1 on this track, it's rather dull to me. Kind of reminds me of Russia a little bit.
It kind of reminds me of the old Hockenheim track. Not obviously not the sort of street style, but the two like massive main straights, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I always thought the old Hockenheim was sort of Monza's fatter brother, because very similar circuits.
Yeah, we're looking at it.
I used to love it on the old game, just going side by side with someone for like a mile. So Ash Best does a 44 in the first sector, and then through the castle section, which might claim a few victims today. One of the trickiest sections of track, especially as the racing line through that section is completely inaccurate.
Yeah, I'd say during the race, I mean, obviously these drivers are more skilled than myself, but I'd say during the race, you don't really want to be following someone too close behind, because other people are going to take it quite cautiously, I'd imagine.
Yeah, some people might be looking to tactically slipstream another car if they time it right in the end of Sector 2. They can follow someone to the line and gain a lot of time in slipstream. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, this is a difficult track to set up for, because you need a balance between getting through sectors 1 and 2 and then having enough straight line speed. So early time for Ash Best, 1:40, 1:20. That's a pretty good benchmark for the rest to aim for, but it's going to be somewhere in the 39s.
Yeah, I was going to say that, yeah.
There's a couple of drivers who might possibly get it in the 38s, but it'd have to be an absolutely blistering lap to do that. So I'm going somewhere in the middle of the 39s. Game Freaker asks, do you trust Codemasters in making a good 2018 game, especially online? Well, what do you think?
I mean, how many times can they get it wrong? I mean, I've only been playing the online version since 2016. I mean, in big lobbies, I mean. But I mean, you've got to get it right eventually. But you never know the Codemasters.
Yeah. So I think Codemasters are very good at putting a game together in terms of, like, you know, features and all that, but I think their hands are tied of online because they don't have the resources of an EA or Activision to have dedicated servers, and that fundamentally is why there's so many issues with the online.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see another game company make the game. To be honest, I'd like to see an EA version of the 20th F1. See if they can do a better job, but just have to stick with it, I suppose.
I believe Big C is missing the next two Game Freaker. I thought it was originally Baku myself, but obviously he's here, or maybe he's missing one, but we'll find out. So only 4 drivers have failed set a time so far. And
yeah, I'm on board with Lico at the minute. I'm interested to see what he can do.
Oh, Lewis has binned it at the castle section, I think, or is that the pit lane? I can't. Yeah, that's the castle.
It's the castle section.
Yeah, so one of the podium on the podium last week.
Sorry, Williams facing the wrong way. He's just correcting himself now, but he's having a moment. I didn't see that was on the HELLBOY or JD. Probably JD, I think.
Yeah, well, that's not ideal at all. But I don't think that'll be the. It looked like the cars section, but I couldn't tell from the angle.
So Little goes P2, time being with 41 P5.
Yeah, in case you're wondering, Voltex Lico and Voltex Maxi are the artists formerly known as MaxiLuca and LicoBlocks, but they have joined the Voltex esports team.
Yeah,
I think Maxi's going to have to start getting far less penalties if he's going to be a success in that esports arena. Just my opinion. But good luck to them on that. And it's a very close gap between Ashbess and Lico, less than 20 thousandths of a second.
According to my sources, Big C is not particularly quick around Baku, so he might struggle with this one. But you never know, you can never be count him out.
No, I mean he's been in worse spots than this, and it's not a wet race this time, so that will be in his favour. If he misses Britain, that is a real shame for him, because Britain is probably, well, perhaps arguably his best track, given how many times he's won it in PSGL history. So he'd be gutted to miss that one. Good evening to Woko onto the podium, and Louis, Game Freaker, and there are a few other people, CC Brain. If I missed anyone else, it's because the chat keeps updating, so good evening to everyone here. Got 12 watching. If you enjoyed the race tonight, feel free to leave a like and a comment, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. All appreciated. So that's the last plugging I'll do, I promise.
If I may stick one in there somewhere as well, you can always use the hashtag AskJP, and I'll answer any questions you want.
So at the moment, Oogie's in a very decent 4th position. It's not really worked out for him so far this season. We know he's got pace, but he's been caught up in a lot of sort of midfield collisions. He just needs a race, needs a clean sort of race near the front to really show what he can do.
I was going to say about that, because obviously I enjoyed the last season of the 2016 when he nicked Paudie and Oogie win the title challenge that year. It just seems they've never seemed to either get a break in the 2017 game, or they just can't get used to it compared to the 2016 game for whatever reason. I don't know, but just can't seem to catch a break at the minute for those guys.
It's looking like quite a mixed up grid, because we've got Skeevan, Oogie heading towards one, and the championship leader, incidentally, only in 6th at the moment, just over 2 minutes of the session to go. So this will realistically be the last run for everybody. It's quite a long lap here. Best part of 2 minutes. Let's see, what is the current... So the time to beat at the moment is a 1:41.20. Will anybody break into the 39s?
JD put a decent lap in. He put in P5 at a minute.
That's evidence of the track evolution starting to come to these drivers. Now, in terms of penalties, there's not really many areas you can cut. I suppose in Sector 1 There is that corner just before the end of sector 1, and then
I was just going to say maybe the corner before the castle section. That's the only really place I can think of.
Yeah, and also, if you get it wrong, turn 15. If you go in too tight to it. But apart from that, we should, in theory, see far less penalties than we saw in Canada last week. And in terms of the pit strategy, one stop should be dominant here. Tyre wear very kind. It's on a level with Russia, to be honest. You can go forever on even the 2 fastest compounds. And JD pulls off the circuit, so he's retiring. Or I don't know what he's doing. So let's switch to someone else. So Asbest is on an outlap, as is Lickle. Skeevan's on a lap as well. Oogie is nearing the end of one. Where is Cliffy? So I'm going to stick with Oogie for now, because he's the first of these top 5 to be heading to the line.
I'm just watching Maxi for a second.
Yellow's in sector 2. Oh, and XJackLacey, he is out of qualifying, and I think that's another victim of the castle section. So that's the second one, but let's see what Oogie does. He's heading towards the line, currently in 4th. Just under 4 tenths away. Where's this going to put him? And he improves, but not enough to improve position. But Cliffy, and there he is, straight behind Oogie, and it's a 1:40.06. Is that a 1:40 flat? Sometimes I can't tell with the purple text because it's so hard to read against the walls. Yeah, 1:40.060. But there's Skeevan into the 39s. Will Cliffy just try and respond?
Just a bit of an update. Greeny's had a moment. He was facing the wrong way. He's not going to be able to set a time. He's going to start from plumb last.
Wow, that is a surprise. So Skeevan with a sensational lap. Can anyone else beat him? What about Asbest? A few people did cross the line. I think Oogie kept going. Jamie has finished qualifying, and the reigning champion could only manage 12th. And HELLBOY retires, must have been validated. Let's see, is anyone else? Paudie's heading towards the line, and Aaron just behind him. So let's see where Paudie ends up. He's currently 15th. He'll need to improve. Only 15th. So what about Aaron? Aaron heads to the line now. Maxi retires from the session, and 6th. That's a really good time. Excellent time from Aaron there to put him into the top 10. So Cliffy, I think he's going to keep. Is he keeping going? I don't know. Asbest just behind him. So let's see what Cliffy can do. Skeevan has finished for the session. Cliffy's got to find nearly 1.5 tenths to get back in to provisional pole. There's still other drivers to finish. What will Cliffy do? Cliffy does not improve. What about Asbest? He's heading towards the line. There's GamingAlimonda behind him.
Nichols right behind him.
Yeah, and he could get slipstream of Asbest. And Lickle takes it.
39.6.
He slipstreamed off the back of Asbest because Asbest leaps above Skeevan, but Lickle got the slipstream and the improvement in time to 1:39.664. Is there anybody else out there? No, JD's returned to the pits. So that's very clever from Lickle, the Haas driver. So once again, for the 3rd race in a row, we have a Haas, at least one of the Haas's on the front row. So
I'd be interested to see if he'd done that on purpose, being staying so close behind Ash.
Well, it's a very risky thing to do because if the other drive messes up, then you're right on him and then you ruin your lap. But hey, he gambled and it paid off. So Lickle takes pole position, Asbest 2nd, Skeevan 3rd, Cliffy 4th, 5th for Oogie, AMS 6th, Big C got up 7th, Aaron 8th, JD 9th, and Maxi makes up the top 10. And then we got former champions like XJackLacey and Jamie outside the top 10 who will get a fresh choice of tyres. Dry conditions for the race. We have 19